Welcome back to another episode, guys. We have Justin Randolph on the pod today, who is a singer, songwriter, has a concept album that is coming out, and we are going to dive into internal family systems with him today. What made you move your family to Thailand? Because you are 12 hours ahead right now. It's 8 p.m. where you are, 8 a.m. where I am. So that's a big shift. What made you guys decide to jump there?
It's a bit of overlap, I think, with some of our topics, but we joined a global NGO nonprofit about 18 years ago, and I won't give you the whole story, but we were overseas in Eastern Europe for a time, and at that time, my wife was involved in some how do you say, like trauma-informed kind of program. She was trained into this trauma healing kind of program, and it was in the middle of that and seeing where the point was like to equip lay
Okay.
people to like be safe people, and so like and she's recognizing that, and it's a faith-based thing too. So she is connecting with like training like churches, training people in serving in different kinds of roles, but the point is to make it the average everyday person a safe
That's
person, and to make the
huge.
churches safe churches for people, and to be able to walk with people well through their grief, their suffering, whatever it is that they're dealing with. And it was in the middle of that she knew that she needed to be equipped more. She wanted more. She was already diving and doing all kinds of research into polyvagal theory and all these names and things that I can't remember.
Yeah.
Your audience might know a lot of them, and so she goes back to get her master's degree in clinical counseling with a focus in expressive arts therapy. And so in that, it was an online program, but part of it requires you to do internships, and so she knew the language where we lived, but not well enough to do therapy. She said she didn't feel like that would be respectful, and so part of our role in this nonprofit is in ethnomusicology in the arts. So it's doing a lot of different kinds of community development work, incorporating local arts and local culture and whatever like the community resources are, helping them to use what they have towards different kinds of goals. So that intersects in the faith-based sphere that we were working in. It also intersects in other NGOs and community development kinds of initiatives like literacy education, multilingual education. There's a lot of different things that it touches on. And so she was already coming to Asia to help our mentors do some of this arts and trauma healing trainings that they were running. And so and our mentors were based here in Thailand. So anyway, she needed to do these internships. They said, there's counseling centers here, there's international schools, there'll be options for you to do it in English. And that opened the door to come here. And I'm able to do this ethnomusicology and arts training through a university here, as well as continue serving other projects and consulting and such. So that brought us here. And she's continued to, with our colleagues, develop this arts and trauma healing with her clinical counseling training. But that was like the application she set forth. But during the internship process, she realized I'm really good at this one-on-one counseling and walking individually with people, and she really loved it. And so that opened up a pathway for her to start doing counseling. And all of that is a long backstory, but for our topic today and like how I intersect with it, I learned
Right.
so much from her in her studies and her research in the mental health field, and just I don't know, it was seeing her walk through it for herself, and also being equipped to help other people, that also got me inspired and doing my own work. So that's what brought us here, and that's one of the
Yeah, I'm
reasons
I'm
that
kind of
mental
over here
health is
like,
so
does your wife
important
do
to us.
podcasts? Because everything that she has worked towards is very much like HME focused. So, but I absolutely love what she's doing, and obviously like how you've dove into it and not only supported her as a partner, but really dove into it yourself. But especially with the faith-based end of things, I really think that a lot of religious institutions do need that trauma-informed care when it comes to working with, their churchgoers. I grew up in church, but I don't know what the actual term is. The congregation. That's the word. So, but let's dive into
Hmm.
your story for a little bit.
Yeah.
As great as her story is, walk us through your music journey, your mental health journey, and how you've kind of gone from point A to here. Now, I know you gave a little bit of a segue, but diving deeper into your
Sure.
story.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
music goes way back. When I was 10, my dad brought the drum set down from the attic that he played when he was in high school, and all of his brothers were drummers, so I learned to be a drummer, and I did percussion in band, middle school, high school, and college. I took piano lessons. I was in
Mm.
choir. I loved it all. I wasn't a sports person, but my parents encouraged me to try everything and see what
Right.
you like and follow the things that you love. And music was home for me, and so it goes way back. And it's then like, what do you do with it? I don't know. There's a lot
Yeah.
of different avenues to take, but this world of like, there's kind of part of this intersection of mental health. There was certainly like a lot of like good that just
Mm-hmm.
playing music and being creative did for me, that I feel like I can't even appreciate. I haven't looked that far back yet, and really like seeing all of the benefits from in my mental health, and just like throughout my life. But then I enjoyed writing music. I played in bands. I participated in like theater productions, and I played music at church. I would do just make up fun songs for kids. Like, I just enjoyed it all. And so the there was a when I learned about this like ethnomusicology kind of role, I also liked music and expressions from other cultures and learning about that, and so there was an interest there, but it is different in that like the job is
Right.
to encourage other people's creativity, which I also enjoyed. Like, I enjoy creating for myself. I enjoy collaboration with other people, but I've learned I like holding space for other people and allowing them that opportunity. And it was modeled for me in a lot of our circles of having these kinds of arts parties, we called them, where we just came and everybody shared something from their culture, something they liked. Maybe they sang a song, or they shared something someone else has done, but that was meaningful to them. And there was a lot of relationship connecting, relationship building through the arts and through community in the arts that was really meaningful to me. And part of what I've been learning in recent years and doing my own inner work is that at the core of everything for me is connection, and either moving towards connection with others, or there's a strong fear of losing connection, and how the responses or the pursuit of this shows up in different ways. I've been learning some
Right.
of it is helpful, some of it is not. And so there was a point in this journey where, in the work of encouraging other people's creativity, I kind of set mine aside for a time, not necessarily intentionally. Sometimes for sure, like I didn't want to take up the space that was for other people in this context, but it was only in recent years that I was encouraged by other people that to like give myself permission to get back into it. And also, thankfully, technology is such that
Mm-hmm.
it makes it easier for us to create and to record. I started investing in myself just to take courses and learn, and build up my chops to do it. So I'm I'm always quick to like create with other people, and so any as we've gone back and forth to the States, my brother-in-law and I would write music together, and then he got some equipment, started recording, and that kind of set the journey of actually like releasing music. Because to me, like there's the creating of it, but then there's also the sharing of it, whether that's live or whether it's sharing the recording, that also kind of completes the experience for me. Putting it out there and sharing it is uh, a way of connecting, and it's an avenue for me to be known by other people, but also there's a hope of like by stepping out and doing that myself, it's an example to others, and it hopefully invites them to do that as well and to join in. And so there's been all of these points along the way where I thought I was
Mm-hmm.
just pursuing music because I loved it, but it's been such a like an integral part of my own growth and development as well. And some of this I've, like I said, I've learned from my wife and some of the things that they've done, just like creative responses to things. And it's not always about like writing a song and making a perfect recording, but just creating anything in response to something is a way of expression. It's a way of exploring the inner world, and so it's also been a tool in that way. But then by doing that practice, it's been fuel for other songs and fuel for other kinds of things. And so it's very much like, to me, both of these things kind of go hand in hand. Um, and as far as like the listeners are concerned, it's not
Right.
always music. It can be anything. That's why my wife's expressive arts therapy training encourages all expressions and finding out what's meaningful for people and helping them to use what's going to be the most effective and meaningful way for them to express or to explore or to dig in
Yeah.
to their story.
Which of the things that you've kind of learned through what she's been diving into do you feel like resonates with you most, with like how you can cope with like day-to-day things going on?
I think seeing her be an example to myself and to our two boys, she was going through her program
Oof.
in the height of COVID, and also like the time zones didn't work out for her to be in classes, so she's up in the middle of the night. I'm homeschooling with the kids, and it wasn't a happy time for us. But what I saw for her, because the
Mm-hmm.
training is experiential, like they want you to go through it for yourself, to prepare you to walk others through that. So she and classmates would be doing these kinds of assignments of creating and sharing, and but one thing that I noticed those like when she's working on those assignments, but then she was also taking space for herself. And so as different ones of us become triggered in
Mm-hmm.
of different things and needing space, she had a lot of the language and the tools that she was learning to put to use for what's happening, helping all of us identify what's going on. We have, we're all
Yep.
dysregulated because we're all in close proximity and things are stressful, and but then she was also modeling, I'm going to take space for myself, and then learning from her the kinds of things that she did that was helpful. I started doing some of that. We tried to encourage our boys to do that as best we could. And so the first thing, it was like there are things to do. You can like respond to
Mm-hmm.
these feelings, even if you're in overwhelm. The first step is like getting away from it, getting time by yourself. But then I was asking her like, well, okay, I have the space now, but I don't know what to do with it. Like, what are you doing? And so then it became a lot more the kinds of questions she was asking, or maybe it was just emoting in some way. Um, but I think it was during this time that she also learned about internal family systems, and so then this also started to shape more language of
Mm-hmm.
the questions we ask ourselves, but also it was with all, not just internal family system specific, but the whole
Right.
like clinical counseling training, like the therapeutic approach to people is one of curiosity and compassion, whereas I was conditioned to
Mm-hmm.
judge these negative emotions that I was having, and that I thought they were to be avoided, and like that they were bad. So you suppress them or you distract yourself and you get away from that. And then she was showing a different posture of being curious about why they're there, and then having compassion on, like, these are big feelings, but it's good. These are signals. Like, we are created this way. This is how we are wired to respond to difficult situations. And so it just changed the whole paradigm for me with that approach. Being curious and learning to understand, starting that process of understanding what's going on. Why am I so overwhelmed, or why am I mad at the kids for this, or not even why am I mad, but like, why am I this mad, or why am I responding in this way? Because it wasn't always just about being mad, but it was, what do I do with that? Like, some people might erupt in anger and yell at kids. Others might become really rigid with how they speak to them and what they expect of them. I've been guilty of both, but like, there's these different responses that I'm recognizing that I've got to do something myself here, even if, they are also struggling, but I've also got to take care of myself. So I really got to understand. And it felt like sometimes it was too much, and I can't control what the kids do. And that's also kind of scary in itself. But just starting with myself, and she was a great space holder for that in the midst of all of her studies and lack of sleep and the things that she was doing for herself and classmates, that she was also trying to model for us. And so I feel like it was a really difficult time, but it was the time that the light shone the brightest, as far as there is a way out. There are other ways of responding and other ways of doing things. And so that's what kind of set us on that trajectory. And me more specifically, she had books, she would share things, she had different workbooks. So I started reading some more, and there's so much. She's a reader, and I can't keep up, even if I wanted to. But so certainly, like, a lot of it comes from things that she was taught, things that she has researched and found. It's just, as you know, there's so much to unpack. There's so much to explore.
Yeah, and I think there's a really good point that you brought up, especially when you're dealing with kids and regulating your own emotions. You're doing a lot of, like, rediscovering, like, your triggers and stuff like that as an adult, and a lot of, like, reparenting, because the amount of times that my nephew, I'll be, like, getting really annoyed or, like, short with him on something, and then I have to take a step back and I'm like, is it what he's doing, or is it because I am overstimulated as all hell and I can't, like, he just, like, played his iPad a little too loud, and I was like, bud, turn it down. And then I'm like, I'm overstimulated. That doesn't make it okay, but I'm explaining where I'm coming from. I'm aware of it. I will be nicer. It's a lot to kind of sit with yourself and be like, is it them or is it me? A lot of the times. But to kind of talk about your album that's coming up, what was it about internal family systems that really resonated with you to the point where you're writing a concept album on that, and, like, parts therapy?
The idea, it's not, the idea of a concept album is not new. And one of our favorite artists is Ryan O'Neal. He plays music under the name Sleeping at Last. We've followed him over the years, and he's done a lot of these albums of concept albums. Like, he had a whole album called Space, and there was one song for each of the planets. And I'm of the DVD generation, and I would always watch the bonus features and behind the scenes kind of stuff. And so in his podcast, he would share about these songs and how he did all this research on that planet. He looked at the telescope images, and so he found all this inspiration and did all this work to create songs based on each one. And he did another album. Each song is one of the Enneagram types, which we were studying at the time. And that was huge also, just for own self-exploration. And I learned so much from that. And so I think it was that album in particular that I was like, that's a really cool way to kind of capture an experience. And I was like, I identify as type 9, and I felt his 9 song was pretty spot on. And I'm like, that's really great. And my music has always been often processing things in my life and things I don't understand, or maybe the more difficult situations and emotions. And so, because we were also doing these kinds of creative responses to things, and just in an effort to emote, in an effort to process, or respond to these things that were going on, I recognized like there were some good things came out of there. Like some of these little nuggets like could be used, or just the fact like I wrote a song that I probably won't ever release,
Yeah.
but I really needed to write it in that moment to get it out. And there's something about like for me the process of songwriting that makes you really think. It's very like I'm a doer. I'm task oriented a lot. I like to check things off the list, and it's hard for me to like turn the brain off and stop whatever it is. And songwriting makes you stop because you have to sit with it and you have to think of it, which is also this in order to do my own inner work and explore these different parts of me in my therapeutic journey. There's like it requires this stillness and it requires attention, and and so it was before I even started working with a counselor. We were on vacation, and I didn't know what to do with all that free time, and I was just sitting there, and I was playing around with like the GarageBand app on my phone, and just putting something out, and then I was just thinking like with whatever groove was happening, I just remember thinking because I had been going through this IFS, like a self workbook kind of a thing, exploring parts the previous year, and I had been thinking about these parts that I started to recognize. I've got this part and this part and this part, and I really want to dig in deeper to these, and I want to do it in a helpful way. I want to, and and I was like, what if like there was a way to explore each of these, spend time with it, get to know it, and capture it in a
Right.
song somehow. And so I made the idea of the concept album was kind of born then. And the first song I started writing is the one that I just released on Bandcamp this past week, and it'll come out everywhere else in February. But it was the first one I wrote that was just trying to like
Mm-hmm.
name a few of these different parts, and start with the posture I want to have to begin this work, which is going to be, I'm going to be curious. I'm going to recognize that what they do are not always helpful, but they have the best intentions. Like they're trying to keep me from pain, they're trying to protect me, and I want to honor that. And so I thought like I'll make this kind of ode to my
Mm-hmm.
parts, and this would be like the first song that could go on the album. And at that point, this I didn't know I was really going to do it. But then later, another part came up, and I did some work around that, and I wrote this song, and I just felt like it was really that this one that I finished that I had released already, because the concept album is gonna it's like out. You can pre-order it, but I'll
Right.
release each of them as they're ready. This is also kind of a distribution model that Sleeping
Yeah.
at Last used for a while, and I just like I want like people can walk with me if they want. If nothing else, like it's I'm gonna sit with it. I'm gonna do it. I'm
Right.
gonna try to finish it, and we'll move on to another one. And when I actually finished this one song, this is the first song that I had finished. I hadn't the one I started hadn't been finished yet. But this one, I was like, there was I don't know how do I say it. When I finished
Yeah.
it, there was like this release, like this all of this tension and this stress that I was feeling. Once like I spoke to this part and like named the things that it was feeling, and um, gave it the encouragement that I would want, like, and was able to like start and finish the song. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the process. It's not just about like sitting with it, but it is something about completing it. And that not that like the work or that part is done, but it was enough of a representation, and there was this release. It was like a softening, and that part like it still gets activated, like it still comes up, but it's
Yeah.
not nearly as strong. And at times after I wrote this song, it was coming up strong, and I would sit and I would like sing the song. I would like sing the song to this part, and it was amazing at the results. And over time, like its intensity
Yeah.
becomes less and less. And so this, and I feel like that's when I thought I definitely need to do this. Like I need to commit to this album. If nothing else, like it gives me some accountability. And I started working with a therapist soon after that. We started going deeper into some of
Yeah.
these others. And so like I've written another one. I have ideas for these other songs, for the other parts, but I need to
Yeah.
spend more time with them. And so and so far at least, like each one is kind of a different
I love
style
that.
of music too, as it's emerging, which is interesting. Um, so I'm trying not to have any restrictions, but just like learn what it is and try to capture it, represent it in a way that
Right.
is accurate to the experience now, um, and just see what emerges. And so, like, I think I had an initial idea of maybe like 6 songs, but I'm open
Right.
to there being more. I'm also not trying to rush it, but I'll finish the album at some point. Like, even if it doesn't, there may be more parts that emerge, but I just want to be
Right.
faithful to the work right now. And like, and this for me, it serves like the creative outlet. Like I'm getting to be creative. I'm getting to involve other people, and so I had a really good friend here who did a lot of recording with me on
Mm-hmm.
this latest song. I had other we host we call it a creative circle or an artist circle, where we do this kind of sharing with uh, with our community. I had at one of our creative circle, I had them sing this line on the bridge of this song, which is "We are for you, we are with you." Like I hear like I had the
Yeah.
voices of my friends singing this, which is also it also like symbolizes all these different parts that are working for my good. And so it's really special to see like the kind of community and the relationships and the people around me. This the community that we're trying to foster, is also the kind of community or have all these parts working
Right.
together in harmony. Like so, it's rather
Mm-hmm.
than against each other. So like it was to me like it was a really good. Uh, it's symbolism of how I want this process to be and how I want my all parts of me to be find healing where they need to, but then like come together and um, work together in harmony. And so that's kind of the idea. And to me, I see so much symbolism in the music aspects of things to my life. So like I'm constantly making these kinds of connections that are also fueling the encouragement I need to keep going,
Yeah.
in this walk.
Now, it sounds like you've really completed like a couple of parts. Are there any that you're currently working on that you're just finding really difficult to finish because you're realizing that there's a lot of work you have to do within yourself in order to write this part out?
Mm, that's a good one. Yeah. So the first song, which is the second one that was released, I've
Mm-hmm.
named a few of the parts there, um, but
Right.
I didn't go super deep. Like this is just like setting the tone, right? This other one came up because as I tried to do my work, this
Yeah.
other part kept coming up that was like didn't want me digging in deep, which was interesting. So that was an interesting experience. There is the song I just wrote that's finishing is like a pleaser
Mm.
part, one that wants to do things and uh, people please, and I feel like there's been some I feel like that's been like the part that's been around the longest, so I'm most
Mm-hmm.
familiar with it. And then but as I was exploring this part with my therapist, there's this other part that came up, which I don't really have a name for, but she called it like a
Mm.
boundaried part. It was trying to set boundaries. It was in response to things, and so she said it's often when you're exploring IFS, we have different parts that may come up, but there may be these parts that are polarized, like and
Mm-hmm.
fighting against each other. And so as we were exploring this pleaser part, this boundaried part came up that I haven't gone super deep into that one yet, and this is I think one I might explore next more in depth. But I find it more difficult because I had for the pleaser part, it's been around so long, and it served me so well that it like has given me a good reputation as being
Yeah.
dependable and being someone people can count on, which is great. And like I've craved that like kind of
Hmm.
approval. And then as the years have gone on, there's been this boundary part has shown up, is because like as you're people pleasing, like you're like
Yeah.
neglecting your own health, and things are falling apart here. And I started realizing I need to be really careful just at getting good rest and watching what I eat, and like there's all of these consequences to getting
Yeah.
older and the choices that we make. And so I find it really difficult because it's not like where this pleaser part has emerged, because it needs like connection with people, and it feels like it gets that by doing things for
Hmm.
others and serving, which sounds good. But if the motivation is because you're afraid of like losing connection or losing
Yeah.
relationship, then that's not healthy. And whereas like this boundary part wants me to like say no to invitations, say no to my kids, and like go to bed and just have space and really be choosy. And that causes this like rigidity in me and missing out on connections with others. And so there's I find it really difficult because like it's like, yes, we should exercise, we should eat right, we should take time for ourselves, but like, and I'm a parent and I have responsibilities to my kids, and I can't just walk
Right.
away when they need something and it's triggering for me. And so I think being a parent has also like revealed things in
Yeah.
me as well of this, and fueled the kind of, yeah, like set your own needs aside and just go with the flow and do, it'll things will be fine if other people are okay are around you. So I feel like it's really confusing in this, and it's hard for me. It has been really difficult for me to dive into parts work because I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. Like I should be like pleasing others. I should like make sure they're happy. Like those are all good
Right.
things, and this has worked very well for me. And so it's really trying to step it back even further and say, what's the motivation? You know, am I really like genuinely wanting something good for them, or do I need something for them, or am I motivated by fear that I'm going to lose something? So like, there's there's so much to unpack there, and I feel like it can be kind of confusing if you feel like a part is actually good and an asset. And so the what I've been learning is we're just trying to redirect that role. Like it's a good role that it's trying to play, and it has good intentions, but we just have to redirect it in a way that you have clarity, I guess, like in your
Yeah.
choices, like, or that that's what you're seeking. And in order to seek that kind of clarity, you have to spend time. And so I really struggle with that idea of in the moment kinds of things. Like I'm activated, I'm like, oh well, I'll deal with that later, I'll come back and I'll sit with this part. But
Hmm.
I'm finding I need to be there like in the moment to really connect with it and give it what it needs. And so there's also an element of you, it is work and it is intention, and it does mean it can be disruptive to your day or your plans. Um, but there is a path to follow,
Yeah.
and there are tools to help us to get there. And I am finding the more I honor that, even though it's disruptive or inconvenient, that like every time I've done that, it's been beneficial in some way,
Yeah.
every time. And so that to me is reason enough to keep going. And as much as I do have power to create boundaries or structures, to make sure I have margin and not overcommit to things. And I think there's wisdom in how to live, but it's also real life, and we have to figure out how to go with the flow and the things that come up that might be surprises. But it's worth it, and that's the message I keep saying to myself. It is worth it. I just need to do it.
No, it is 1000% worth it. And honestly, like you are speaking a lot of people's mentality, like the people pleaser to creating boundaries pipeline is so real. So I know a lot of my listeners, and especially me, really resonate with that of like, it is difficult because you want to be dependable, you want to be there for people, but also you're starting to realize that you can't do it all and you have to
Yeah.
say no. And sometimes that comes with guilt. Sometimes you feel good about it. Sometimes you fear losing that connection. But I know for me, I'm like, if I fear losing that connection over saying no one time, like maybe that wasn't the connection for me. And that's what I have to keep repeating to myself over and over and over again.
Mm.
Because a lot of the times,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you've experienced this, when you are more of a pleaser, you wind up unfortunately connecting with people that are users. So it's just
Mm.
learning how to work through all that. So I really commend you on that one because it is I've done some parts work in therapy and it is difficult. It is difficult to unpack all of that. It is difficult once you think that you have it all nicely packed up. There's another suitcase coming down from TSA that you're like, okay, like yeah, it's a lot of work. So
Mm-hmm.
as I know you've very eloquently stated some of the work that you've done, but I do not want to remotely discount. I know how much work it took to make it sound so eloquent.
Thanks. I've had the ear of my wife for these years too, and
Mm-hmm.
she's been helping me to articulate. I mean, it's ironic as a songwriter, I do struggle with words. I've always
Mm-hmm.
been the music has come easier
Yeah.
to me, and so there's to me there's benefit in this, and some of the songwriting exercises have also been similar to some of the things that a therapist encouraged me to do, just different kinds of free writing and things. And so it's over time been able to find those kinds of the words and language, and so I can't take credit for that, but I'll certainly make use of it for sure.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to my wife and others. We have other friends in our circles who are also therapists, and so I do feel fortunate in that I'm surrounded by a lot of therapeutic minded people.
Now to kind of wrap a little and because you had said that each of the songs kind of have a different vibe to it, like a little bit of genre bending, jumping, whatever. What are some of your, obviously Sleeping at Last is probably a
Mm-hmm.
big influence, but what are some of your other musical influences when it comes to writing or the lyrics or anything like that, especially on just this particular album?
Yeah, I mean, so far some of the ones that have come up, this new one is kind of more Mumford and Sons of a style, and I don't feel like I quite have the voice for that, but my the music that emerged, it kind of lent itself to that. And my friend here thankfully plays banjo and mandolin and upright bass, so he really like makes the sound
Mm-hmm.
come alive there. And I like their, especially their earlier albums, and even the last one, Rushmere, was like the lyrics are deep, and there's like more like contemplative, reflective, but there's also high energy and angst, and I feel like this one kind of does a little bit of both. The one before that is piano, bass, and drums. It's very much Ben Folds inspired. He's always been a huge influence of mine as a piano player and as a songwriter. I feel like he has a way in songwriting. Sometimes like his lyrics are just like what he's thinking. Like he'll just say it and put it out there. And other times it's very poetic and symbolic. And I've just always appreciated his music. And so that is overall, I'd say he's one of my biggest influences, just because a lot of my music tends to be more piano driven. This pleaser part, though, because of the intensity, this kind of energy, this drive to like do things, is drawing from my pop punk influences in my
Love it.
early years, and still now I love it. And so I feel like it really captures the energy well that I wanted
Yep.
to. But even so, like that is such a huge part of my musical story that those kind of pop hooks generally come out, and even some of my guitar driven stuff is more in that kind of a lane. I'm self-taught on guitar. Friends just show me how to strum chords, and so that's what I know how to do. And it's not very not very fancy, or technical, but it's what introduced me into more songwriting is like you could just play these chords and like make songs
Exactly.
from it, and that's all you needed. So that this is another one that is coming up, and other influences. I do love musical theater, and I would say it's an influence. I don't know if it will be an influence on this album or not. I have been like I'll toy around with different music as it comes up, and I've come up with a couple that I feel like this sounds more like it should be in a musical, but I don't know if it will, or what will come of it. I collect just little riffs and chord progressions to come back to as inspiration strikes. So other influences definitely just rock, good old rock. I'm a kid of the 90s and what 90s pop radio used to be,
Yes.
all the one hit wonders that were there, and but like, yeah, so I like it all. I like folk. I like really laid back. Like I said, I mean, I've studied music in other cultures, and I definitely find ones that I connect with more. I appreciate it, and I can respect all expressions, even if it doesn't connect with me. But I'm just there's a kind of there's a time and a place for all of it, and I can find value in it. And I've sometimes been surprised at what I've connected with. So
Yep.
I would say in those kinds of veins, I this kind of indie rock, pop folk kind of
Yeah.
vibe is probably going to be the most common, but we'll see.
Yeah. So where can we find you on Instagram to follow along and make sure that we get those downloads when they come out? And where is it? Where are the songs going to be available in February? What's been completed?
Oh yeah, so the album is being released or like each song released as they're
Right.
available on Bandcamp. So you can
Bandcamp.
pre-order there, and it'll become available. Plus, there's other bonus things I'm doing. I did an instrumental version of a song. I'm doing these deep dives, essentially a podcast like Last Sleeping at Last. I'm taking
I love it.
a note from his playbook to do a lot of the behind the scenes, both of the lyrics and of the music and the choices. So trying to do more of the things that I would do in these creative circles and building the community around it, and hopefully to spark dialogue and encourage other people. And then it'll be streaming everywhere. The first song is already streaming everywhere, but if you follow on Instagram or YouTube, Facebook at Justin Randolph Music, you could also go to justinrandolph.music, and all the links to all the platforms will be there. So this second song will be streaming in February 13th, I think. So those would be the places, and always welcome to give a shout out or send me a message, because I love to chat. It's not just about like come hear my songs, but I'm hoping that like something resonates with you or something's meaningful and we can connect and talk about it.
No, absolutely. Well, Justin, thank you so much for taking the time out. I know it's late where you are. So I really appreciate you coming on and chatting about all of this. And we'll have all of his stuff collabed on the Instagram, so he will be easy to find. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you for making the space for these conversations. This is really important, and I know a lot of people are benefiting from it.
All right, guys, we will catch you next week. Until then, stay hot and stay messy.